Hello everybody, I hope you're all well today and ready to learn about transaction attachments. I'm Laura and I'm going to be with you for the next 30 minutes or so, and we're going to have the lovely Michael in the background who's going to be looking at answering some of your questions, or it might just be myself, so do bear with me if it is just myself that's looking at those questions. Anything that I don't get answered though, I will get back to you via email afterwards, so don't worry, they will get answered one way or the other. So if you've joined us before on a webinar, you'll know the housekeeping rules already. But if this is your first time with us, welcome. And regarding the housekeeping rules, your mic's going to be muted automatically, but you'll see that there's a little question icon on the toolbar there where you can submit any questions you may have for myself or Michael. So just make sure that you pop them in there and we will get back to you one way or the other there. I'm also going to be including the slides in the handout section as well, as there are some links on there at the end which you might find useful. So if you do want to download those, make sure you do that during the session. And there's always a printer-friendly version on there as well. So if you do want to make some notes on there, you can print that one out too. So today I'll be giving you an introduction into using transaction attachments in version 32 of your Sage 50 account software. Following that, I'm going to go through a series of demonstrations within the programme so you can see how that works and in which areas of the programme that's now available. And as always, I'll be providing those useful links to our guides on the Help Centre as well, so you can have a go at your own pace as well. So what do I mean by transaction attachment? So if you're emailed a document or you incur an expense and you take a photo on your phone along with entering that transaction into Sage, you can also attach a copy of the receipt or invoice as a transaction attachment. So this means that on the transaction, you can easily open it up and view that document if you need any further information from it. And it also saves you time having to file them away at the end of the day as well. So you've already got them there in Sage, you don't then need to file them away. It's now available in most areas of Sage 50 accounts version 32, and it's been available in some of the areas for quite a while now, like suppliers, but due to requests, it's been extended to other areas as well, so we'll have a look at that too. You can add a single attachment, or you can add multiple attachments to your transactions. And you can also include a choose your attachments in your backups there as well, your transaction attachments. So normally it's just the data files only that you'd back up regularly. But if you regularly attach transaction attachments, you may want to include those in your backups too. And I'll cover that in the demo as well. You can also decide to report on transactions with attachments as well. So I'll also touch on that too. So we can run through those in the demonstration. But the attachments or the transaction attachments, they are completely optional though. So you don't have to attach them to your documents of your transactions if you don't want to, but it can just be useful and, like I say, time saving and just make it easier to locate them as well if you need them. So there's a range of file types that are supported as attachments within Sage 50 accounts. So we've got them listed here. So things like PDFs or PNG files. But if you have an email from a customer with an attachment, it's usually a PDF format, meaning you can save it on your PC and then you can attach it within Sage. Each attachment can be up to 5 megabytes. What it'll do is it'll take a copy and it'll save it as an attachment in the attachments folder within Sage, rather than attaching a link to your original document. So if the original document was deleted or it goes missing, you don't have it anymore on there, you still have that copy within Sage. You can also add and remove attachments as well at any time. So if it's something's been attached to the wrong transaction, you can delete that. It's not going to cause any issue and you can pop another one on there. So that's easy and straightforward too. So this is all for transaction attachments. There is something called Document Manager as well, which has been around for a few years now, and it's in the standard and professional level of the software. So if you go into the Memo tab within, say, the customer or the supplier record, you can attach documents in there. But that's for record level, like customers or supplier records. So it's not transactional level, which we're looking at today. I have included the link on here though to the document manager. So if you did want to know a bit more about that or get a bit more information on that, that is available on the downloads there too. Just as today we are concentrating on those transaction attachments. So what I'll do now is I'll pop into my program and we can have a look at it and just see where we've got that in the program and look at a bit of a demonstration there. So we'll have a look at suppliers first of all on there. So I'm using version 32, which means we've got the transaction attachments option available in more areas of the software. So as I said before, it's originally something that was only available in suppliers, but due to requests from our lovely customers, it's been extended to other areas. So that's why we always value your feedback. So if you're thinking that you'd like to see something in the program, it's always worth feeding it back on there. So if you do have any ideas, make sure you do feed them back because we do look at those. But we'll have a look in suppliers first of all. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select a supplier. And at the top, the options that we have available where we've got the transaction attachment is in both batch invoice and your batch credit option. Now, if you can't see those along the top, it may just be that you've got them hidden in the background. So if I right click anywhere on here, you can see we've got ticks next to everything. So I've got everything showing on here. But if I just click on invoice, it removes that batch invoice option on there. So if you can't see it, if you right click anywhere along this bar, just make sure that invoice and credit, those are the two that we're looking at, they're both selected, and then you should be able to see them along the top. Well, if I click on batch credit, that's going to open up a batch credit window for me. And I'm just going to choose a customer, the account. And then you'll see in the next column, we've got the attach column on here. And again, if you can't see that on there, it's just the same as we mentioned before. If you right click anywhere on here, if I tick that, my attach column disappears. Just depends if you're using them on there. So you can modify this as well. So if I right click, just click it back in again, it'll pop back up. So if you've opened yours and you're using version 32 and you can't see it, just right click along the top and that should pop back up for you there. But if I click on the little add, where it's got add attachment, you can also click shift and F4, and it's going to bring up this little browse window. And you'll see within there, the add attachment, it tells you here that it's for relevant supporting documents with the file size of up to 5 megabytes there. So you can drag and drop documents into here. You can also click on browse, and that's going to open up your file explorer. And you're just going to browse to the location of if you've taken a photo of a receipt maybe, or if you've had an invoice through and you've saved it on the computer. So I've got some saved in here. So I'm just going to choose this one. I'm just going to click on it, click to open, and we can see the file name in there. If you've chosen the wrong one, you can just click on the bin. It just takes it back out there for you. The same with if we go back in, I'm just going to browse again. Choose this one, click OK, and I'm just going to say OK to that. And you can add more than one in there. You're not limited to just one, but you can see now we've got a little pencil icon on there. So if you have attached the wrong one at this point, again, you can still edit it if you want to, just by clicking on that pencil icon. If you think, hang on, there's actually meant to be 2 included on there, just go back in and add another one, click OK. And now we've got them both on there. So now if I click, I'm going to go along, I'm just going to enter this invoice in here, and then we'll just save that. And then close that window. And that's your transaction attachment saved to your supplier batch invoice there. Just close that window. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at the activity now just to see what that looks like. So if I can either double click on it, on the supplier, or I can click on activity at the top and it'll open up that window for me. And we'll see here's the purchase invoice that we've just created on the 13th there. And we've got that little view attachment, the little paperclip icon. We've got a few more further up where we've got attachments on there as well, but this is the one that we've just done. So if I click on that attachment, it's going to take me to here, and we've got those 2 attachments that we've just added in. If I double click on them, and it opens it up for me. So you can see it's quite quick just to go in and locate them there. If I think, right, hang on, that one shouldn't be on there, if I close out of that, if we click on the little plus icon where we've got add attachment, We say, right, this one was actually wrong. I don't need that one on there. You can just remove it and you can click OK at that point. If you then realize that there should be a different one on there, you can also add from here as well. So if we click on the little plus icon again, so you can do historic transactions as well. So if you've got older transactions, you can add transaction attachments to those too. So if I go into here and I should have this one on, I'm just going to say open. So I've got my original one, which was correct. I've removed one of them, which was incorrect, and I'm just adding another one here. And I'm just going to say OK. So if we now have a look at it in the paperclip, we've got 2 on there again. I've just changed it. Close out of that there. So you can see it's really straightforward to add those attachments in. So we've got it within the suppliers module. So we've had a look at the batch invoice. It's also available in the batch credit option. Looks exactly the same. So we've got our, pick our supplier, pick a different one. And you've got your attach. All you need to do is just click on there and you can see it looks exactly the same. We're just going to click on browse and browse to that attachment. Really straightforward there. We'll have a look at a different area now. So if we pop into our bank account, so I'll close out with suppliers. Just say I don't want to save those changes. And if we have a look in bank accounts, let's let that load up on there. So we've got the option within your bank payment, so money going out of your bank. And we've also got it in bank receipt as well, so money coming into your bank. So if I click on bank payment, just to show you what that looks like, again, very similar. So you've got your choosing your bank from here. I already had 1200 highlighted, so it's brought that up, but you can change that in here if you want to. And you've got the attach option. So if you've taken a picture of a receipt, say you paid some money out of the bank account, you have a receipt for that. If you've taken a photo of it, you've saved that as a file on your computer. If you then click browse, and you can choose your invoice or your receipt, click OK to that and save it. And you're just going to tab across, choose a nominal code, just choose the top one there just for the demonstration. It's for £10. Just save that and close the window. And then we'll have a look at the activity in this one. So if we double click on it, or you can click on activity at the top, and we're just going to go to the activity. I'll make that a bit bigger just so you can see it. And you can see there's my bank payment, today's date, and we've got that attachment there. So we're just going to click on that paperclip and it brings it straight up. So you can see it's really easy to go and locate things, and there it is. Just double clicking on it, it opens it straight up for you. I'll close out of those. So you can see it's really straightforward to add them in there. Like I say, you've also got that within your bank receipt window. Again, looks exactly the same. Also got it in customers now as well. So if we go to the customers module, you've got it within just the same as suppliers, batch invoice and batch credit option. Just click on one just to show you exactly the same. Choose a customer. And then that becomes available on there. Again, if you can't see it within here, it might be that you're on an earlier version. So if you're not on version 32 there, it might be that you're on an earlier version, or right click and just make sure that you've got it selected. If I haven't got that selected, it takes it out of there. Pop it back in. I'll close that window. And the other option we've got it in is within the nominal codes, so for journals. So this is slightly different. So if I go into nominal codes, and along the top, I'm just going to click on journal entry. It'll open up a journal window. Now you'll see along here, there's not an attach column. And that's because it's slightly different with journals there. So for journals, attachments for journals are done line by line. So they're not done line by line like they are in the other areas on there. They're per journal windows. So if you're going to journal some money between a nominal, you're going to have a debit and credit on there. So what I would say is if you've got a journal which has got a lot of information on there, but the attachment only relates to, say, 2 lines, 2 or 3 lines on there, for the lines that it applies to, just enter that one separately. So if you've got a debit coming out of one and a credit for another one on there, you can then add an attachment at the top and it looks exactly the same. just the same on there, browse to your image that you've got, or your invoice, or whatever it is that you're using, like I say, a receipt if you've got a picture of that as well, and just attach it that way. But that would be per window rather than line by line like it is on the other windows there. So your transaction attachments, so they're stored where your data is held. So if you just have one PC, the data is going to be held on that PC, and that's where your attachment folder is going to be. So if you're just using the one PC, it'll be on your hard drive. If your data is on a server, that's where your attachments are going to be. But you can view the attachments folder just by clicking on Help at the top in the very middle, and then we're going to choose About. And this will open up a window with a lot of information. It'll have your version number as well on here in the very top left-hand corner. So you can see the version there. But the one we're going to click on is Data Directory. So if I click on that, I'll just move it just so you can see that again. So you've got your version number at the top, and you've also got your Data Directory. This is just where the data is stored for this company on there. So I've clicked on that because it's a link, and it's opened up the company file. Within the company file, you've got a lot of different folders within here where the data is stored. But if you scroll down, you've got one called Transaction Attachments. And if you click on that, if you know the transaction number and you're not in Sage at that point, you can still view the transaction attachments from outside of Sage if you know that transaction number. So if you've got a note of that and you think, right, well, I need to have a look at transaction 1549, you've browsed to the location of your transaction attachments. We've got 1549 here. If I double click on that, there's my invoice, and I can double click on it from there too. So like I mentioned earlier, if you deleted the original one by mistake, because Sage takes a copy of that transaction attachment, you've still got it within the program itself. So it's just another way of being able to view the data there in the background. For backups as well, so you can include your transaction attachments within your backups as well. So we'll have a look at that too. So normally for backups, you'd just be backing up regularly your data files, which is just the sort of what you're inputting on a day-to-day basis. Just drag that over. It's opened on my other screen there. So you'd be normally including your data files when you run a backup. If you attach transaction attachments on a daily basis, it might be worth you ticking the box for transaction attachments too, mainly because the purpose of a backup really is to put you back into a position if, say, your PC breaks, touch wood, and you need to install Sage on a new PC and restore that backup in, you've got absolutely everything there. If you're only attaching transaction attachments perhaps once a week, you could take just data files only backups, and the day that you attach these transaction attachments, if you just have a day for inputting invoices, you might just want to take that particular backup for the transaction attachments when you input those. But you can include them on there. Obviously, it will increase the size of your backups because you've got those attachments in there. So just to be aware that it will increase that size of your backup as well, but it just means you can see where to take that backup. And that was just, if you didn't see that before, it was just in File at the top and then Backup, because I know a lot of people tend to back it up when they close out of Sage at the top and it asks if you want to take a backup. You can go to File and then Backup on there. So we had a question about if you've had an email in from a customer, can you upload it straight from the email there? So if you do receive an email with an attachment, you will need to save it first before attaching it within Sage. And that's just because when you're in Sage, when you click on Browse, you can't browse to the email. So if we just go back in, we'll use customers as an example. Say I click on Batch Invoice, I'll just select a customer. And if I click on Attach, when you click Browse, you can't browse to your emails from here. So it has to be something that you can browse to on the actual computer there. So even if you just save it to your desktop and then you can pop it straight into here, you could then take it off the desktop again if you wanted to. So I hope that answers that question there. And we have been asked on previous webinars about transaction attachments, is it the same as auto entry? So auto entry will enter the transaction at the same time for you, along with adding the attachment, whereas transaction attachments, you would attach it when you are entering the transaction manually there. or you can go back to it at a later date. So say if I had, I was going to pop some on there that I had old invoices and I thought, right, I'm just going to get a bit of admin out the way. If I click onto the activity of this supplier and say, right, I've got some here that don't have attachments on, but I can attach them now. So we've got one there from February. I just want to attach something to that one. Of course, you can do that. Just select it and attach it. And there we go. We've got that attachment on there. So you can sort of backdate it if you like. Somewhere else that you can also attach attachments to, or transaction attachments, is in your VAT return as well. So I'll pop into my VAT return, and on step 2, so if I just click on VAT return at the top, as if I was going to run my VAT return, I'm going to click on calculate VAT return. I'll have a little think about it. We'll ignore all those. And you can ignore my 512 potential queries. That's quite a lot on there. But just underneath, we've got add attachments. So it could be, say, if somebody's on a partial exemption scheme, for example, and you need to add some attachments in there, click on add attachments. And again, that familiar window that we've had a look at where you can browse to a location and just upload anything from there. If you've already submitted your VAT return, you can still add attachments to there as well. So we've got one here, shows as submitted. If I just highlight that or double click on it to open it, we can see we've got step 3, it's already completed, got it transferred and submitted, but I've got some documents, I just want to attach them. You've got that attachments window just at the bottom, and you can add them from there. So you can do it afterwards if you want to. So with regards to reporting on there as well, so you can report on transactions if you want to show or just print off a report with which items have transaction attachments on there. We'll go back into suppliers because I think I've got a couple in suppliers that we can run it for. So if I click on reports in the top right hand corner, and I've already got mine in my favorite, but I'll take it out of there just so I can show you. So if you haven't got it favorited, it might look like that. And I'm going to go into my daybooks. And within daybooks on there, there should be one little called Daybook Supplier Transaction Summary. So we have a look on here. This one here. And I'm just going to preview that. And yes, so within your criteria values on this one, you can see here you've got an attachment filter. So you can apply any of the criteria that you want to for specific transactions or suppliers. But within here, you can choose only to show with attachments or show without attachments on there. So if I run it and just show any with my transactions on there, I'm going to say OK to that. And there we go. So these are my supplier transactions that have transaction attachments on there. And mine, somebody's just asking how was it in my favorites there. So all I've done there is clicked on the star. If it's something that you use regularly, if you click on the star just on the left-hand side there, when I close out of this, if I go back to reports, within my favorites, I would have a list of all my favorites. I've only got one highlighted at the moment, but you can highlight multiple ones and it just pops it in my favorites, which makes it a bit quicker for you to get back to. We'll have a look at another one there as well for reporting. So if I go into my nominal codes and we'll go to reports at the top. I've got nothing in my favorites on this one, but again, it's in daybooks. And I have included a help centre guide on this as well that tells you the reports and where to find them as well. So don't worry if you're thinking, where have I clicked on for all of that? But if we go into here and we're going to go to daybooks again, and there's a daybook nominal ledger, which we'll have a look at. So this one here, I'm just going to preview that. And attachment filter is, we'll say transactions, we'll say with, because I don't think I've got any, so I just want to see what that looks like, and it'll tell me there. The report could not be generated, there was no data returned. That's because I've got no transaction attachments on my nominals there. If I run it again, go the other way, transactions without attachments, and there, it's brought up. I'll just make that big. It's brought up all of my nominal codes there, which have no transaction attachments on. So just the other side of it. But using transaction attachments, it just saves you time. For example, if a supplier rings you about an unpaid invoice, instead of searching for it in a filing cabinet or through emails on there, you can say, right, you've got the customer on the phone. I know it's from Concept Stationery Supplies. I'm just going to have a quick look at their activity. What was the number of the invoice? It was 1575. I'll just open it up from here. There it is there. And you can see that literally took 5 seconds, if that, to open it up. So it saves you time that way as well, just by looking in the customer or the supplier activity, or now you can do it in your nominal codes and from your banking window as well. So it is really handy and time saving as well there. So I have added links on here as well, just as promised. So these guides are great and they cover the process step by step. So we have them for the customer and the supplier transactions there. So those are the ones that we were having a look at before, as well as the bank payments and receipts, and also the journals, which we looked at there. Remember, the journals weren't line by line, they were per window on there. And there's also a guide on the reporting of the transactions as well within the attachments, which we've looked at too there. So that one's a good guide as it goes through where you can find those reports too. So really handy guides to refer back to. So I'll keep this open just for a little bit longer, just while we're going through the questions on there. Don't forget, you are going to get a recording of today's session as well in around about an hour's time via email. So if you do want to watch that back at your own pace, or give it to a colleague to watch, then that one's going to be available for you there too. So you'll get that in about an hour's time there. And you can also access our webinars page at sage.co.uk/webinars. So all the past recordings are free to view here, along with signing up for our upcoming webinars. And the link's just on there for the slide as well. So if you're downloading those, you can just click on that link and it'll take you straight there. I just want to remind you as well about our one-to-one bespoke training sessions. So these are block hour sessions which are over Teams with one of our trainers who can provide training and answer your questions around how you want to use your software. So it might just be that you want to make sure that you're getting the most out of it, or you may have new starters who you want to get up to speed using the software. But if it does sound something that's going to be, or you're going to find useful, or your colleagues are going to find useful, if you pop us an email, just at that email address shown on the slide there, and we'll be in touch with you just to discuss that further. So that's the email address, lsenablement1@365sage.net. That does bring us to the end of today's session. So I hope you found that useful and hopefully save you a bit of time as well, which is always good as everybody's so busy these days. But as always, you will get a survey when leaving today's session. So I'd love it if you could leave us any feedback or any comments around what else you'd like to see on a webinar perhaps, or if there's anything you'd like to see done differently. But for now, thank you for attending and enjoy the rest of your day. What I will do is I'll leave it open just for a moment, just on the thank you screen, just while I have a look at those few questions there as well.